everyone, this is Mindy Eggen and welcome back to my channel. I have a fun birthday card project to share with you today featuring the Honeybee Stamps Layering Streamers stencil. This stencil is really great for creating those simple backgrounds. Here's a look at that 3-piece layering streamers stencil, and I'm going to show you up close. There are words at the top. So one of the layers is labeled confetti. The other layer has top of the streamer. And then the third layer says the back of the streamer, and you'll be able to see that there are etched lines in there, and that's going to help you line up your streamers to get perfect placement. There's also an etched line at the very top, and that's going to help me align the stencil at the top of my card. So I have a white piece of cardstock here. This is 80 pound, cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm holding the stencil down on my Make Art station using my magnets. I'm starting with the layer that says top of the streamers, and I am going to ink blend on a rainbow of color across this card. I'm starting with my lightest colors, which I have is Kitsch Flamingo, Dried Marigold, Squeezed Lemonade, Twisted Citron, and Salvaged Patina. Now I know I'm missing the purple, but I'm going to work that into my card later. I have all of my inks over off on the side in my ink stand that's holding my mini ink cubes for me, except for Squeezed Lemonade because I don't have that in a mini ink cube. After I remove this first layer of the stencil, I'm going to bring in the back of the streamers stencil, and I'm going to line those etched lines up with the color of ink that I already have on my cardstock. Once I have that in place, I'm going to hold that down with my magnets once again, and this time I'm going to come in with a shade darker of color. Now for this, I'm using all Distress inks because I really wanted these to be nice and bright and festive. So once again, going over those colors, I am using now the darker shade, which is Picked Raspberry, Spiced Marmalade, Mustard Seed, Mowed Lawn, and Peacock Feathers. I'm using some mini ink blending brushes that's kind of like a finger dabber, but they have bristles on the end. And I really like how they move across the cardstock and the stencil, and it's nice and small so that it fits into these small areas. I'm going to remove that layer, and I am going to flip my card and work on the other end. I thought it would be really cool to have these streamers coming from both sides. So since I left off with the stencil that has the back of the streamers, that's what I'm going to start with because I already have all of my ink cubes out. So once again, just going in that rainbow order, adding the back of the stencil to that. And when I lined up the stencil, I tried to have it so the streamers were placed kind of in between each other and not overlapping. Then I'll remove that, and I'm going to bring back in that first layer of the stencil, which is doing the front or the top portion of those streamers. So this is going to be the lighter color. And then I'm just going back through those colors. I switched out my ink cubes, so I'm back to Kitsch Flamingo, Dried Marigold, Squeezed Lemonade, Twisted Citron, and the Salvaged Patina. Now for the confetti portion, you could do those in any color. You could do those in rainbow color since you already have the colors out. But I thought it would be really fun is to add some sparkle to this. So I'm going to go ahead and clean off my work surface, and then I'm going to bring in Glitz glitter gel from Gina K Designs. I'm going to pull this out, just pick some up with my palette knife, and spread this over the confetti portion. Now, once again, on this top layer or this layer of the stencil, there are etched lines that lined up over my streamers so that the confetti is in between all of those streamers. And you don't need a ton of this Glitz glitter gel because the confetti area is pretty small. So you just need to scrape a little bit through it and then scrape off any excess. So I carefully peeled that up. And now something I wasn't sure if it would work, and I'm really glad it did, was I'm going to flip my cardstock and I'm going to repeat these same steps on the other side. I'm so glad these stencils are kind of cut in this smaller size so that it's not overlapping the bottom portion, which means I'm not bumping that Glitz glitter gel at the bottom because it's not dry just quite yet. Being that these are very small areas and I'm not putting a huge layer of the Glitz glitter gel over it, it is going to dry fairly quickly. So after I remove this, I'm going to run over to my sink and just rinse that off with warm water and soap. So while that's drying, I'm going to work on my sentiment, and there is this birthday hot foil plate. Now this birthday also matches the stamp set Birthday Wishes. There is a stamp in there that says birthday, and there is a coordinating die. So you could either stamp this or you can do it like this where you are doing hot foiling. I have a piece of Hammermill cardstock just cut to a small size. I trimmed out some glimmer hot foil in gold. I have that shiny side facing up and my hot foil plate facing down. Now I'm bringing in my glimmer hot foil system. I have that so the glimmer plate is flat down, touching that hot surface. I pushed my button, and once the light turns solid green and is not blinking anymore, I know that this is ready to go. I can just pull out the platform and put that whole platform through my Platinum 6 die cutting machine. I have a few other videos where I have done hot foiling, so if you're looking for a more detailed tutorial, I will link those at the end of the video. Now I'm just going to carefully remove that piece of cardstock, and then I'm going to peel up my foil. So once I peel this back, I have this beautifully foiled sentiment birthday. And as I stated before, the Birthday Wishes stamp set has a coordinating die set that fits this word perfectly. So I'm going to hold that down with a low tack tape and run this through my bitty buzz cutter. And then while I had this out, I did off screen go ahead and die cut out about 3 or 4 more of these sentiments without anything on it. I just want to be able to layer this together later on. Now is going to be a good time for me to work in the purple from the rainbow. So I'm using the word wishes, which is off the Birthday Wishes stamp set. Sorry, I'm so tongue-tied today. And I have a piece of Jelly Donut cardstock here that I'm prepping with an anti-static powder tool. I'm going to ink up that sentiment with some unicorn white pigment ink. Just carefully stamp that down. I can ink it up one more if I didn't get a good enough impression. I don't want to squish my stamp set because I don't want to distort the word or the letters. Then I can sprinkle on my white embossing powder, tap off any of that excess, and then go ahead and take my heat tool and melt that embossing powder. One of the things I really love about the Honeybee Stamps sentiment sets is they have coordinating dies for almost all of their sentiments. So I'm using that coordinating die and my bitty buzz cutter to die cut out this smaller sentiment. Once I'm done die cutting everything, I can just fold up my bitty buzz cutter and set it off on the side, which is great when you work in a small space. Now that all my sentiments are done for my card, I'm going to work on completing my card, starting with trimming down my card panel. So everything is dry, it didn't take too long, and I am using the Honeybee Stamps Sweet Stacks Rectangle. I'm going to line this up over the area that I want to trim down and run that through my Platinum 6 die cut machine. Now, the reason I do this, you can totally leave this as is. It would make a great card front, but I wanted to trim that down just a little bit so I didn't have so much open space. This is going to end up measuring about 3.5 by 4 3/4. So I have a piece of double-sided foam that I trimmed down to slightly smaller than that and line the back of my panel with it. And then I can attach this to a card front that I created from Jelly Donut, which is the same cardstock I used for my smaller sentiment. I mentioned earlier that I had die cut out that birthday coordinating die a few more times from white cardstock. So I'm just going to add some liquid glue to the back of that and layer them together to create a little bit of dimension. I really didn't want to mess with small foam squares for this, which is why I like stacking it this way. And then I can add it to the front of my card. I'm going to put some heavy acrylic blocks on top to just let that sit for a few minutes while I work on the smaller sentiment. I'm using up some of that leftover double-sided foam that I had and added it to the back of the word wishes. And then I can peel off that release paper and add this right under my birthday sentiment. So this is going to say birthday wishes. I really love this design and the streamers all around it, but I felt like I had some empty areas where the confetti was a little bit lighter in some areas than the other. So I'm filling in that white space, or kind of more of that open space, with some solid sequins mix that I have from Gina K Designs. Really any type of sequins would work. I just really liked this one because it was a little something to add, but wasn't stealing your attention away from the sentiment. This finishes up my card project for today using the Honeybee Stamps Layering Streamers stencil from their Birthday Bliss release. I will have all of my supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog as well. Thank you so much for joining me today and have a fabulous day. Here are a few other videos I think you might enjoy.